78-year-old Nancy has always been careful with food. She washes her produce, checks expiration dates, and never leaves leftovers out overnight. But one day she woke up with severe stomach pain. The doctor asked what she'd eaten. "Just a salad," she said. "Lettuce, tomatoes, and a boiled potato from the fridge." The doctor nodded slowly and said something she'd never heard before. Some foods become harmful when you refrigerate them the wrong way, even deadly. Nancy was stunned. Like many of us, she believed the fridge was the safest place for food. After all, cold equals freshness, right? But here's the shocking truth: not everything belongs in the refrigerator. Some foods change their chemistry when chilled. Their starches turn into sugars, their oils go rancid faster, or their natural enzymes produce toxins that the body can't handle well. In fact, the U.S. Department of Agriculture warns that certain foods can become unsafe when stored below 40 degrees Fahrenheit for long periods, even if they look fine. The danger isn't always visible. It can hide behind taste, smell, or texture. So today we're going to reveal 7 everyday foods that many people, especially seniors, are unknowingly storing wrong. They're foods that seem harmless, but can quietly damage your gut, your heart, or even your blood sugar levels when kept cold. Don't worry, this isn't about fear, it's about knowledge. Because when you know how to handle these foods correctly, you can protect both your health and your longevity. And yes, one of the worst offenders is probably sitting in your fridge right now. So before we dive in, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to Senior Ways, where we share simple science-backed wisdom to help you live stronger, safer, and longer. Now let's begin with the first hidden culprit, a kitchen staple most people refrigerate out of habit, not realizing it becomes toxic in the cold. Food number 1, potatoes, from comfort to chemical. Few foods are as comforting as a warm baked potato or a hearty stew. But here's what most people don't know. Once you refrigerate raw potatoes, their starch begins to break down into sugar, and that's where the trouble starts. When those sugars are later cooked at high heat, they combine with amino acids to form acrylamide, a chemical linked to nerve damage and increased cancer risk, especially in older adults. Even the World Health Organization warns that this compound found in fried and roasted foods can be harmful when consumed regularly. 70-year-old Howard learned this the hard way. For years, he kept a big bag of potatoes in his fridge to make them last longer. But one day, his daughter, a nutritionist, explained why his smart trick was actually risky. Now Howard keeps his potatoes in a cool, dark cabinet instead, where the air circulates and the starches stay stable. If you've been refrigerating your potatoes, don't panic, just move them to a dry spot between 45 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. You'll keep their flavor, preserve their nutrients, and avoid chemical buildup. Sometimes the old ways, like Grandma's pantry, really were the safest. Food number 2, onions, a breeding ground for mold and toxins. If you've ever pulled a slimy onion from the fridge drawer, you've seen the evidence yourself. When stored, cold onions absorb moisture from the air, breaking down their natural protective layers. The dampness encourages mold growth and bacterial spread, especially when stored next to other vegetables. 81-year-old Gladys once told me, "I thought my fridge was keeping my onions fresh, but they kept turning mushy." She didn't know that onions actually prefer the same environment as potatoes, cool, dry, and ventilated. The danger isn't just spoilage. Once mold takes hold, onions can develop mycotoxins, invisible compounds that irritate the gut and in large amounts can harm the liver. Here's a good rule. Whole onions should never go in the fridge. They last longer in a mesh bag on the counter or in a cool pantry. However, once you slice or chop them, it's okay to refrigerate them, but only for up to 48 hours in a sealed container. Gladys switched to a small basket on her counter. No more mold, no more waste, and much more flavor. As she says, "Turns out my onions just wanted to breathe." Food number 3, bananas, the fruit that loses its magic in the cold. When 75-year-old Raymond noticed his bananas turning black overnight, he assumed his fridge was keeping them fresh. "I thought the peel looked ugly, but the inside still seemed fine," he said. What he didn't know was that chilling bananas too early actually stops them from ripening properly. Bananas are tropical fruits. They grow in warm climates and were never designed to handle cold temperatures. When placed in the fridge before they're ripe, the low temperature interferes with the natural process of starch turning into sugar. The result, a dull, starchy banana that tastes flat and offers fewer nutrients. Even worse, the cold damages the fruit's cell walls, causing the peel to darken quickly. The fruit inside may still look yellowish, but its sweetness, texture, and vitamin content drop dramatically. Scientists from the University of California found that refrigerating bananas before they ripen reduces their vitamin C levels by nearly 30%. That's a big loss for older adults whose immune systems rely heavily on that very vitamin. So how should you store them instead? Keep your bananas at room temperature on the counter until they fully ripen. Once they develop small brown spots, you can move them to the fridge if you must. But remember, the skin will darken even faster. Raymond laughs about it now. I used to hide my bananas from the heat, he says. Now I let them soak in the sunshine like me. Food number 4, olive oil, turning liquid gold into sludge. Many seniors store their olive oil in the fridge thinking it'll help preserve freshness. It sounds logical, but the truth is that refrigeration changes the oil's chemistry and texture in ways that make it nearly unusable. Olive oil contains delicate natural compounds, antioxidants, and fatty acids that give it both flavor and heart-protective benefits. But when it's chilled, those compounds crystallize, causing the oil to become thick, cloudy, or even waxy. 72-year-old Ellen learned this lesson after finding her frozen olive oil one morning. "I thought it went bad," she said. "It looked like honey that had turned to glue." What she didn't know was that storing olive oil in the fridge can cause condensation once it's taken out, leading to oxidation, the same process that turns oils rancid over time. A study from the American Oil Chemists Society found that olive oil stored below 50 degrees Fahrenheit loses flavor and antioxidant value much faster after being warmed again. In other words, the fridge doesn't protect it. It actually ruins it slowly. The best place to keep olive oil is in a cool, dark cabinet, away from sunlight, stoves, or other heat sources. A steady temperature between 55 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit is ideal. Ellen now keeps her olive oil in a tinted glass bottle inside her pantry. "It stays golden smooth and tastes better," she says with a smile. "I didn't know temperature could change flavor so much." And she's right. Just like the human body, olive oil thrives at a stable, balanced temperature, not too cold, not too hot. Food number 5, honey, the ancient medicine that turns toxic when cold. For thousands of years, honey has been considered nature's healer, used for wounds, coughs, and even longevity. But here's something most people don't know. Refrigerating honey ruins it. 77-year-old Judith kept her honey in the fridge because she thought it would stay pure and germ-free. But after a few weeks, it crystallized into a hard, grainy mess. When she tried to reheat it in the microwave, the taste changed and the color darkened. What she didn't realize was that refrigeration triggers crystallization. The sugars separate and harden, creating an environment that encourages fermentation. Over time, this can alter honey's pH and chemical balance, allowing yeast to grow. And when that happens, the honey can become slightly acidic, even toxic for sensitive stomachs. Raw honey naturally contains enzymes, antioxidants, and antibacterial compounds that stay stable at room temperature for decades. But once you put it in the fridge, those enzymes start to break down. It's no longer the same medicine it once was. Scientists at the National Honey Board confirm that honey should always be stored in a tightly sealed jar at room temperature, ideally between 60 and 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Judith now keeps her honey in a small ceramic jar on her counter, just like her grandmother did. "It stays golden smooth and perfect," she says. "I had to unlearn what modern convenience taught me." So if you've been storing your honey in the fridge, take it out tonight. Let it rest. It's meant to last, not freeze. Food number 6, tomatoes, the heart-healthy fruit that loses its power in the cold. If there's one food that most people refrigerate out of habit, it's tomatoes. We slice them, use a little, then pop the rest into the fridge to keep it fresh. But what actually happens is the opposite cold temperatures destroy what makes tomatoes so valuable in the first place. Tomatoes contain a natural compound called lycopene, a powerful antioxidant known for protecting the heart and reducing cancer risk. But when stored below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, their cell structure breaks down and that lycopene stops developing. The result? A tomato that looks fine but tastes watery, mealy, and dull, and offers only half its usual nutritional value. 80-year-old Paul, a retired chef, once said, "A refrigerated tomato is like a rose with no scent. It's still a rose, but it's lost its soul." He's absolutely right. The enzymes responsible for flavor stop working in the cold, so even after you bring them back to room temperature, the taste never returns. Researchers at the University of Florida found that refrigerating ripe tomatoes for more than 3 days causes a permanent loss in aroma, compounds the molecules that give them their sweetness and tang. So what's the best way to store them? Keep ripe tomatoes on your kitchen counter, stem side down in a single layer. If they start to over-ripen, you can freeze or cook them, but never chill them raw. Paul laughs now when people ask about his secret ingredient. Warmth, he says, not just in the oven, in the way I treat my food. Tomatoes are a perfect reminder that freshness isn't always found in the fridge. Sometimes it's in the warmth of nature's own rhythm. In the next part, we'll reveal food 7. The final and most surprising food that turns harmful when refrigerated. It's something millions of people eat daily believing it's safe cold, but chilling it actually changes its entire chemistry. Food number 7, bread, the everyday staple that turns toxic when cold. For most of us, bread is comfort. Warm toast in the morning, a sandwich for lunch, simple, satisfying, familiar. But when stored the wrong way, bread quietly transforms from nourishment to something that can harm your gut and even raise inflammation. 79-year-old Peter always kept his bread in the fridge. "I thought I was being smart," he said. It lasted longer and didn't get moldy. But one day his stomach began to act up, bloating, gas, and fatigue. His doctor asked about his diet and immediately pointed out the problem: refrigerated bread. Here's why it's risky. Bread is made from grains that continue to change after baking. When exposed to cold temperatures, the starches in bread go through a process called retrogradation. They recrystallize and turn the texture dry and rubbery. But worse, this process can trigger resistant starch buildup that's hard for older digestive systems to break down. And that's not all. The moisture from the fridge can create a perfect breeding ground for mold once the bread returns to room temperature. Even invisible mold spores, not yet visible to the eye, can irritate the gut and release mycotoxins, which have been linked to digestive distress and lowered immunity in older adults. Bread doesn't need refrigeration. The best way to keep it fresh is old-fashioned: store it in a cool, dry bread box or wrap it in a clean cloth at room temperature. If you need to keep it longer, freeze it instead. Freezing stops mold growth without changing the chemistry of the bread, and when you toast it later, it tastes freshly baked again. Peter made the switch and couldn't believe the difference. "I didn't know bread could taste this soft again," he said. "It feels like I'm eating bread from my childhood." And maybe that's the point. Sometimes going back to how we used to live brings us closer to how we're meant to live. Final thoughts. Let's take a moment to look back at the 7 foods quietly turning against you when stored in the cold. Potatoes, because chilling turns their starches into sugar, forming harmful chemicals when cooked. Onions, because moisture causes mold and dangerous mycotoxins. Bananas, because the cold stops ripening and kills nutrients. Olive oil, because refrigeration destroys its antioxidants and flavor. Honey, because chilling breaks down enzymes and invites fermentation. Tomatoes, because the cold ruins their taste and kills their heart-protective compounds. Bread, because it hardens starches and grows mold faster after thawing. These foods are natural, wholesome, and good for you, but only when treated right. Your refrigerator is a tool, not a treasure chest. And like any tool, it must be used wisely. For seniors especially, where every nutrient and every bit of energy matters, understanding food chemistry isn't about perfection, it's about preservation. Think of it like this. Your fridge can protect life, or it can quietly steal it. The difference lies in awareness, in knowing what belongs in the cold and what belongs in the light. So next time you open that refrigerator door, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, is this food happy or warm? You might just save yourself from a few stomach aches and add a few more healthy years in the process. If this video surprised you today, take a second to like, comment, and subscribe to Senior Ways. Your support helps us reach more seniors who want to live with wisdom, joy, and better health every single day. And please comment below. Which of these 7 foods have you been refrigerating all this time, and which one will you take out today? Remember, small awareness brings big blessings. You've earned the right to live with energy and comfort, and it starts with something as simple as how you store your food. From all of us at Senior Ways, thank you for being here. Keep learning, keep shining, and never forget, wisdom is the best ingredient in every kitchen.